Hi, good morning. I'm really happy to be here today. I have a lot of stuff to get through. Um, and as it does every single time without fail, the time between me and my departure date for this little road trip I'm going on, it just flew by. So it's tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow. Haven't packed. Have some things to do. And I have a lot of videos and projects, as always, that I haven't gotten to. So I'm just gonna pick up with today, sharing some of the collective messages that I've been getting for the past few days. And I'm also gonna share that the messages and the things that I've been receiving from my guidance is really, really dense. So it takes a lot of processing on my part to understand what I'm meant to share and what I'm meant to, sit with and let continue to kind of reveal itself to me. And that's been increasing. So I'm not sure how much it's going to change the way that I do things here. It won't. It more so has to do with, it more so has to do with how I personally feel about having this channel and being able to share things that are worthwhile. Something else I've been realizing is that the way that I was saying a little bit, weeks ago over the summer, it's like sometimes there are these technicolor days where I feel like my clairvoyance is really dialed up and I'm getting a lot of messages and I feel very connected. It's those days where it's like, particularly on a sunny day, if you go outside and everything almost feels fake because it's so technicolor. It's been like that most of the time recently, and I'm thinking like maybe that was me as the summer progressed, talking about how my certain spiritual gifts were increasing and I didn't know that I was moving into kind of, just a new state of being. So I'm just kind of acclimating to getting a lot of information on a more regular basis and letting that be something that I can handle, but also as my human self who has an ego and a life and all of these things going on, trying not to get thrown off, and just staying really grounded throughout all these changes that have been happening personally. So that's my intro. For today, I am going to do a card spread. I'm going to do an energy check-in. I'm actually guided to pull a rune. I haven't used these in a while, so I'll pull us a rune. And then I also just am going to start out by sharing a bunch of things, trying to communicate some stuff that's been coming through for me. So first of all, the video I posted in my shorts, it's a joke. It's just like the cell phone in the tinfoil. I put that together because when I heard about this signal that's being tested, it's an emergency system. That's the compilation that floated through my mind immediately. So I was like, I can make that video really quickly and post it. Here's the thing about all that. With everything on the internet, with whatever goes on with conspiracies or not, there's a lot of fluff that does more harm than good. And with, all sorts of things, with chemtrails, with frequencies and 5G and this and that. And I do think there's harmful things that are happening that affects the human energy field, but it's the concept of nocebo, where you can make yourself sick or unwell if you feel that something is acting harmfully against you. That's the power of the mind. So will I be turning off all my devices? No, I'm not going to be doing that because I think that something real is going to be sent out through the grid of energy that has, like a net around the earth with all these satellites and all these towers, everything. It's not new. There's going to be something happening with it, but that's the same language, frequency and vibration as the energetic language that I speak and have created a fluency in. I feel protected. I really think that it's important right now, and I'm going to share another experience right after this that happened to me the other morning. It's a really important time to heighten your spiritual energetic protection. It always is, but it's ramping up. So I feel like whoever looks at me now and says okay, crazy girl, in 6 months, maybe you'll come back around. It's not gonna decrease. The need to do that is just gonna grow, not in a fear-based way. That's the difference. It's in a way that says, I understand that my energy, my mind, my human body has the ability to be okay, right? And omit a healing grounded frequency that isn't going to be like, if we're all just kind of like seeing corks at the surface of the water bobbing around and there's a doo-doo, like a tremor and the water goes, ooh, everyone goes, oh. Rubber duckies in a bathtub too, you know, or like shaking the bin and they all go, ooh. If you have something else that's keeping you stable outside of that, then you're not gonna be wub-wubbed as much. Wub-wub-wub. Reverberation. So, I mean, just to recap, I'll probably turn my phone off and put some selenite on it. Selenite, black tourmaline. Clearing high vibrational stone, crown chakra, psychic gifting, helps clear other stones too, okay? And I've shared this before, but I have a really large oblong selenite dish and I keep crystals on it. At night, I put my phone on it. Black tourmaline, on the other hand, is the grounded stone for transmuting other people's energies and the energies in a public space. The last thing that you need, or I need, or anybody needs, is other people's emotions and energies stuck to us that we don't understand are there, and then we ascribe our icky feeling, even if it's just a little subtle, to something that we did or our own behavior. Or, you know, if you're not as of the mind, if you're not a thinker in that way, then you would still feel it in your body, and take it on. And as a people, we're entering a time of a little bit more transparent, energetic boundary between, you know, state and individual, between self and other. It's the macro and the micro. And so I don't think it's as simple as carrying crystals and saying, I am protected. Those are just the ways that we talk about it, you know? I saw a funny, not really funny, it was just a meme or a post the other day, and it said, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. And it's a little condescending, but the point is, at the end of the day, these are sensations, and these are things that are understood through that trine, through that mind, body, spirit balance. It's one thing to hear it, but that's why I'm such a, I'm so passionate about choosing the right way to word things, because words mean different things to different people. And so with regard to all of the stuff on the internet with conspiracies and stuff, I would just say, like, always come back to the fact that at this moment in history, there have always been conflicts and clashes, and we're just on another rung of the cycles that unfold for thousands and thousands of years. It's just a very intense one. I wish my camera would stop doing that thing that it does where it's like, voo, voo, voo. I know that's distracting and it pisses me off, and I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't really even see how much it's doing it anyway, but, excuse me, sorry. It's, sorry. So just like with the nocebo, it's more so about what knowing or believing you're safe, regardless of what happens, does to your body's energy, and therefore your actual participation with the energetic grid around you. This is why a lot of people write this stuff off, but it's not about the saying of things or the carrying of certain things. It's about what all of that does to the very powerful thing that is your perception of what's going on in the world. And if there is something that kind of keeps people in this current of favor where people are kind of under an illusion that a lot of things are true or uncontested. For example, if there's something that is put out, like the government's going to send out this signal, and then a bunch of people are thinking, oh no, it's gonna activate something within people, or it's gonna do something to the human brain, even if imperceptible, like we'll be working with another level of like convolution. It doesn't need to be true in order for people to kind of manifest some type of disturbed quality as a result of that. And it just goes back down to fear and the unknown. And if you look at the news and everything happening in the world, I mean, that's not everything happening in the world, right? The news chooses to focus on horrific things because that's what people need to know. It's not what's going on in the world. You know, we've got incredible things going on every day all over the world that are really beautiful and really pioneering and really illuminating. But when we're constantly being shown what we have to fear and what the new threat is, then we're always in a state of relying on somebody and something else to be able to help us navigate and sort through that. So I made that little video about it. I think it's kind of a joke, but it's also very real, and it has to do with how you relate to what's happening right now. And the best thing to do is just remember that you have consent energetically over what energy affects you and what energy doesn't. And that is why it is people's free will that is, you know, sheepled into these categories. And so I'm thinking about energy expanding and people who are kind of working to grow and hold more theories and ideas, but then also their own personal, you know, body's energy around removing blocks and allowing things to flow more freely than they were, and feeling it safe to kind of take up space around other people, you know, and breathe and express things honestly. All of this is like an expansion of awareness, an expansion of self, a return to, you know, a childhood self, a healing of the inner child. It's an expansion of the self. And so when your personal energy expands and gets bigger, you welcome in, you become more attractive on a polarity level, magnetism. You become more attractive. I don't mean you look more attractive, you might, but it's more so about, think about the masses of black holes and whatnot. You know, the larger they are, the more pull they have. There's an energetic thing that happens with people who have big energy, and I talk about this sometimes. And if you're, you know, maybe some people will relate to this, but not just because I'm like, you know, a pretty girl out in the world, but for other reason. Like, people talk to me a lot. I get engaged in a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons. And I think it's because my energy it's just a thing that happens, or like, if it's not really doing a good job of explaining. And I don't want to say like more powerful or anything, but I see it as the grid or the twisties, or like energy pull, and having, without the people around you necessarily knowing it, they'll like be drawn to you for various reasons. And so my point in sharing this is to get into something that happened to me the other day, because it was after the full moon and I was doing artwork, and I haven't had the time or the mental clarity to sit into my art process in a little while. So I was really enjoying doing that, especially because it was very timely that I felt that way on the full moon. And I finished my 4-part butterfly transformation series that has been the entire summer, and the personal transformation that I've been going through. That series is all about that, but also it's a collective thing. I was feeling very expanded energetically, and not only do you attract like positive things, and you can manifest more easily when you're expanded energetically, but you also attract like the lower vibrational stuff that's just curious, you know, like moth to flame. And so I went to bed that night, but really, really, really late, basically the next day, in the morning. And I was in kind of a half state, like a subliminal sleepy half state, where you know you're still in your bed, you can feel yourself sleeping, but you start to kind of see just different visions as your brain starts to kind of, you know, give way to the subconscious river that comes up. That's interesting, because usually I talk about the subconscious being beneath the river, but at night it's like it switches, right? The conscious mind becomes that dormant thing, and then the flow that starts to come through is the subconscious. I really like that. I never saw that way before, but it makes sense, right? When the ego and the conscious is awake, it's like the subconscious is asleep, and then at night there's a reversal of that. So I was starting to get these visions, but I was very, very much still awake, and what I was seeing is myself sitting facing a woman with short hair. She had really, really honey colored eyes, and I remember talking to her in this dream, but as I was talking to her, my lucid mind, because I was still awake, I was like, wait, I don't know who that is. Who are you? I was staring at her. I was like, who is this? I was going through my little imaginary Rolodex of all the faces I've ever seen in my whole life, being like, who is this? And as I did that in my lucid state in my dream, her face started contorting and changing into the closest attempts that I was thinking on of who she reminded me of. It was very strange. It was very strange. And because I have a lot of practice with keeping that lucid muscle without waking up intact, you know, I think a lot of people would just wake up, but the more and more we kind of connect with these liminal spaces of our own mind, and you kind of don't, you're still conscious even when you're in a sleeping space, or you have that lucid ability. Like, I saw her face changing in order to try to almost like get ahead of who I was expecting it to be. I don't even know how to put it, but I was like, wait, I don't know who this is, and I don't need to. I'm just having a little dream. And so I was gonna like open my eyes or wake up, and I was fully lucid at that point in my bed, but she reached across her body and pulled out a spear, like what was really a blade that was wrapped with twine onto like a bamboo thing. Who knows? I don't know why. Okay, and so pulls that out, stabs it into my like gut. But the dream, I had already kind of collapsed it, because I was like, I had already been like, this is just a dream. So it's like with Inception, when they realize that the projections are there and attack them. It's really, really weird. But stabbed me. I'm staring into the eyes of this being still, who had become this kind of incomplete, more like amorphic, glowing body, because the features had started like changing and morphing quickly, so that there was nothing really defined except for the eyes that were that yellow honey color. And so I'm lying in my bed, but I'm still behind my closed eyelids in my mind's eye and my third eye. I'm still making eye contact with the eyes, and instead of having a body or anything, it's just the features of this energy, this entity, were just changing between these like animalistic features and like extraterrestrial features. Because it's an entity, it doesn't have a physical form. It can infiltrate dream space and, you know, masquerade as someone you know, which happens a lot. So to people, okay, we're very vulnerable in our sleep state. And I believe a lot of what could be thought of as like energy harvesting happens to people during the dream state or the sleep state. So I was making eye contact with it, and it was just kind of chilling. And this could be considered a fourth dimensional interaction that my astral body was having while my physical body was there. And I was, you know, basically awake, staring at it, saying, I don't know, you know, who you are, but you don't have any permission to trick me or deceive me or enter my space or enter my dreams or watch me or touch me or be here. So go to the light, get out. I don't, you know, you're banished. And it went it just got further and further as I was, so those eyes, it was blue, basically, kind of a neon blue thing that didn't have a form, but I could see the eyes still because I never stopped looking at them, and I never stopped holding on to that thread of consciousness where I was like, no, I know that this is happening. Because as soon as you lose that, then you're like, oh, what a weird dream. I never lost the thread of connection to looking at the being or knowing that I was dreaming, and so I was able to keep it until I was fully awake, just lying there. And then I basically told it off and I sent it away, but as I was saying that, it just got further and further and further away until it was gone. And a lot of people don't want to believe in any of the stuff around like entities or energies visiting or anything around the dream or whatever the real source of sleep paralysis is or anything like that, because it's like kind of scary to think about, but it's scarier to know that it's happening and not be able to do anything about it. And I didn't get a bad vibe from that energy, but it doesn't mean I need it in my space. I keep my space pristine. I have to, so that I can function. And that's why I think that I'm doing fairly well despite these, trying times. I didn't used to be doing well. And I've actually, I've been going back through journals because I mentioned that idea a few weeks ago around the fact that I would go back through some of the more notable portals that occur in the fall, year to year, 10-10, 11-11, and then in the winter, 12-12, and read from what was going on with me, 10 years ago on that day. So I've been looking back. Some of them are shareable, some of them are not, simply because there's so much. So just to put it into context for you, I was at school, but I wrote a lot. I wrote in a journal multiple times a day, every day for years. I've got 17 books that I wrote, basically. So looking back through them, it's interesting because there's so many things I don't remember, and there's so many things that are just really, I can't share them without talking about the people that were part of my life at that point in time. There's a few random things that I'll share, but it all goes back down to the fact that there was, like, I was dealing with so much that I didn't understand and have come a long way. And I always believe that it's important to talk about what you know now as a result of what you have gone through, not what you've gone through, because the focus is on, alchemizing pain and experience, which is universal. Everybody has their pain and their suffering. So in some ways, it doesn't matter what it is. It's more so about changing the focus in the collective right now onto methods of healing and just being able to see that we are united through our struggle, and then our desire to be able to live in a way that honors that. Because it's like we get jaded, or we think that we have to, a lot of this is subconscious, but you can't unsee certain things, right? But you can see even like further into, clearing things out, making sense of the world. I'm also, one passage comes to mind, and I'm saying, I don't know who I am anymore. This is probably from 2013, so it's really 10 years ago. I'm saying, I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like everything that happens from my outward facing self is completely detached from me, and my true self is inside, but it's locked and it's brooding and it's screaming, and I can't connect the two. And I don't know how to be in the world. And it's intense stuff. But I remember feeling that way. There's certain things that I forgot that I'm reading through, and I'm like, oh yeah. I just want to go back to the fact that it's the age of Aquarius for a reason. Having these answers and these points of clarity come from within, knitting a network of people who can, communicate about things person to person, instead of all of people getting their information from, something of a system. I had this kind of epiphany. I actually woke up this morning having a dream where I was sitting watching myself with a microphone, sitting in a chair talking, and I was watching myself. And the me in the chair was saying, there's so much more going on than meets the eye, and we have different planes of existence and different realities, and these are true for the people that live there. And so the issue is that you'll have people who feel that the issue with the world is capitalism, or people that feel the issue with the world is Satanism, or, you know, and people commenting on other people's Instagrams being like, she's had so much work done, this isn't reality. You know, she only looks that way because she had the money to get all the work done and whatever. And it's like, for the person that had all the work done, that is their reality. They do look like that. And everyone else in, you know, Hollywood does too. That is their reality. But your reality is true too. It was this... this planes of existence speech that I watched myself give that I'm not doing justice. But that's really important to reconcile with right now, because your personal peace is very attainable when you realize that there's just a lot of chaos existing outside of yourself, and there's kind of this need to kind of call back to a place of safety. Safety is paramount. A lot of people are agitated, but they don't realize that it's actually because they feel unsafe at a fundamental level because of a lot of these looming threats. And physically, spiritually, you can physicality is one thing, but to be spiritually safe and held is another thing. I really wanted to have a system about how I work through all these messages, but I'm just trusting and letting myself just kind of open up to whatever is coming through. But now I'm thinking too about how, you know, in some theories, like say the thing in Switzerland, the Large Hadron Particle Collider and CERN and the portals and whatever, you know, levels of clearance is a real thing, right? That's not a conspiracy. You've got secret departments in the government. You just do. That's not a conspiracy. And they've been working on stuff for a long time. What if, you know, back in 2012 or something, there was some type of ultimate artificially intelligent thing that had this ability to synthesize the reaction, you know, because your phone tracks your eye movements. It has more data on you. It knows how much time you put a certain amount of weight on each foot when you're walking, your heart rate, not only health data, but what your eye movement throughout an advertisement says about your likes, your dislikes. Like if most of the people on earth right now have a phone and they're always looking at it and reacting to what comes through it, and all of that data is somewhat instantaneously synthesized into a certain kind of like script or way of things. I mean, it's called an algorithm, so it could deliver you targeted ads as a result of that. But what is happening with that on a collective level, right? I think about the Super Bowl, our American hero, Tom Brady, the Patriots. I also think about relationships between, and I know it borders so heavily on conspiracy, but and that's okay, right? I'm allowed to entertain conspiracy theories. I just know from growing up, and so many of my close friends always rejecting this side of my desire to kind of go there and entertain certain things, and therefore kind of rejecting my whole school of belief. And that's been very hard for me. So I just try to make the differentiations. Britney Spears shaved her head on a day that George Bush did something. And I don't know what it is he did. He did something around Afghanistan or Saddam Hussein and stuff. And like these, or Marilyn Monroe and JFK, there's this idea that there's always these relationships between different arenas of the public, you know, theater, the politics, the sports, and the entertainment industries. And I would just urge people to kind of look at it through the lens of light, color, symbol, and information too, with like the Ukrainian thing with the Rams. the blue and yellow outfits or uniforms, whatever you call them in professional sports, as well as the Golden Gate Warriors coinciding with that. But then like all of this Taylor Swift stuff with the Kelsey brothers, like I wouldn't be surprised if there is something being crafted. Like what I'm positing here in a very vague way is that all of the things that transpire in this matrix reality that we experience through our phones with the same old faces throughout, you know, space and time, with the sports and the politics and the entertainment industry, is this kind of carefully woven thing that is designed to just keep us swirling around in these spaces of believing that certain things are true. And it's one of the most disturbing things for me about all of the stuff where we have these fears. And instead of people seeing it as like idolatry or idol worship, I'm not saying that to believe in the government is idol worship, so don't take me the wrong way here, but celebrities can do the worst, but they can also do no wrong. I'm thinking about, you know, all the athletes with like horrible accusations for sexual assault and rape, and then like people just like, you know, absolutely adoring them because of their game and their performance anyway, you know, and then it kind of fades away. Or like the fact that for some reason I've been seeing more things about Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen was canceled months ago because there was these tweets from 2009 that were unearthed about her bullying somebody, you know, just one grown woman to another, communicating that she thought she should kill herself or something awful. And those tweets came out and Chrissy Teigen was like issuing a you know, a public apology. I was younger, I didn't know any better. And then now she's back in the news, you know, stays quiet for a few months, and now it's like, watch Chrissy Teigen with her family of 5 with John Legend in Tijuana. I mean, they probably wouldn't go there, somewhere else, somewhere more exclusive. And it's pretty sick to me because a lot of people are just so willing, like whatever it is, are we hating them today? Are we loving them today? It's to be seen for what it is. Okay, so it's like you can't live without it. You can't live outside of it. You can't not pay attention to it. So how are you going to handle all of that? Basically, I don't want to get into that any more than I need to. The flip side of the coin, I have a little list in case I get off track and I wanted to check it. The flip side of this is also thinking about how with all of that, you know, the surveillance era, people feeling like weirded out by the fact that the phone does gather so much information on us. Seeing it as an ally, seeing it as a tool, envisioning a future that is not leaning negatively in terms of a dystopic Black Mirror-esque timeline, but like having really cool, it was 3333 on the clock, having really cool creative abilities, having the artificial intelligence almost represent an extension of the human, you know, instead of like this hubris concept around man tries to recreate God, and so the robots then kill the humans. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of scary potentials in the timelines for different things with AI, but the reality that we need to be fueling is one where, for instance, on my phone the other day, I went on and I unfollowed almost every single blue check mark that I follow, which is the certified, you know, it seems to be given out quite loosely these days. But it's also to verify that accounts aren't, because there's so many scammers and people trying to, imposter, what's the word? I don't know why I can't. Posing as, that's weird because that's not even that hard to grasp, but that's escaping me. But you know what I mean? There's people pretending to be other people and scamming people out of money, so they validate the accounts. But basically, I was seeing almost like that Black Mirror episode with Dallas Howard, a social currency system, social status currency system. The Black Mirror episode acts like we're not already living in that time, but we are in some ways. A lot of people aspire to have that certified blue check mark. And it's like the people who are in these positions of entertainment or political, whatever, like Kamala Harris, for example, her Instagram, there was a post and I remember just being like, okay, because it wasn't anything about leadership or politics. It was like, I like to kick back and have a barbecue on a Sunday. I was like, cool. It's very American. But why do I need to see this on Instagram? Anyway, just kind of a social experiment that I did with myself, because I was like, if my phone is constantly thinking about what I might be thinking about, and crafting together this thing that I'm going to see, I want to start treating it and utilizing it as only something that can give me more of what I want to see and experience. Which is not, it's like, I don't know. It's not anything about that. It's not that I don't support artists and stuff like that, but those are the people who I kept following. And to that point, I'm going to talk a little bit more in the future when I get into all this that I've talked about with like the Hollywood and the breakdown and the Barbie movie and whatever. There's levels of allegiance to pushing certain kinds of narratives and programming. Like you can even tell when somebody is part of it but doesn't want to have to do it, which is weird. But back to the age of Aquarius, right? And trying to utilize the technology for ways that we can make it work for us. I do believe at some point in the future, pretty much government will be run by AI because it will be morally uncorrupt. And that people will live in, we might not see this in our lifetimes, by the way. It's just in the timelines, right? People will live in harmony with artificial intelligence, but we are on some levels a coded form of intelligence as well, with the codes that run through nature, the growth determination, and then how these things can have mutations in the DNA, the code convolution. And if you think about aliens or the fate of the human race ascending into the stars and getting some type of ability to live and evolve outside of Earth, you can imagine, as any species does, as it evolves, that we would, over hundreds of years, lose certain abilities. Like maybe we wouldn't need to ingest as much food because we would have higher vibrationally. We'd be getting more energy from the sunlight or whatever else. Perhaps we are kind of entering this like phase of humans' evolution where we are seeing technology and our own consciousness kind of intersect, and that's why you see them peddling out all of, like the VR, all of these things that keep you very much not expanding your own energy. It's like this flashy show to keep people thinking that they need to like pay money to access those types of experiences, where I've said this before, but the technology, like we can think of it more as magic. If you did show somebody in the year 2000 some of the stuff that we have today, they would say like it's like magic, like you would never think it's possible. But not only is it like magic because of the way that our technological capabilities defy our wildest dreams, but also because it functions on the invisible and the sending of frequency and signals. In some ways, it's a really ancient art. And so when you think about the ruins and the relics from ancient times, and not making sense of how they all functioned, it's because the invisible component of that technology, ancient technology, was through like frequency and vibration. Like I believe that they had, and this goes into my past life, my Akashic understanding of my own self, and like seeing into other worlds through my own soul's like other lives. It's just like math and engineering and energy, having crystals and coils and different things to make things happen, you know, like flying, like hover cars back in Egypt. It's like people don't understand that the magic that powers this realm was taken away, not taken away, cast into intentional forgetfulness, but retained by a select few who have created a thing, and we've been stirring the soup. Now we're here. So you've got people being like, wait a minute, stirring the soup is a choice. No, it's not, because we're in a human experience. You got to stir some soup, but what soup are you going to stir? What soup are you going to stir? I'm choosing not to stir the soup where it's most absurd and where it's most damaging. Okay, so I'm just gonna come over here and stir this soup. So okay. All right, before I get into cards, and I knew this was going to be a long one, especially because I'm going to be going on a little trip, so I don't know how much I'll be able to do readings while I'm gone. I'll definitely intend to check in. So I talk about sexual energy a lot and distortions and stuff, and something that you have is like this oversexed, embracing sexuality, or this very conservative, like it's demonic sexuality. I think both are skews and distortions. And in order to experience a spiritual understanding of reality, you need to have a sexual understanding, an understanding of your own sexual energy. Because of, if you think about the chakras and the solar sun or the solar plexus being this fulcrum in between the upper three and the lower three. No, the heart is that space. So the first three are the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. Those that's the groundedness. That's what this stone can help with. Or another really beautiful stone that I found the other day. I mean, I didn't find it out in the world. I found it in my home. But sometimes I'm like, oh, little friend I forgot about. I want to spend time with this crystal. And whenever that happens, it's very meant to be, because I'm, guided and protected. And you can trust the same, no coincidences. So these chakras govern our sexual energy, but our sexual energy in society is very corrupt. Very corrupt. And so we need to experience it in a healthy, healed way in order to root, because they're the grounded chakras, into the earthly experience. So the issue right now is that because the sexual energy is all distorted, we're not rooting into the earthly experience and having that full toroidal healthy experience of the mind, body, spirit synergy, and the human body's energies are being like limited really for their full potential capacities. And then we're not able to see the spiritual truths as a collective. So from that, like I've been having a lot of downloads about this, and this is the beginning of me like starting to get into that. Okay, I'm going to table all of this talk. I really do want to talk more about women and sexual energy. I always want to talk about it because there's so much to say about it, but to summarize what I'll be getting into more so, a lot of women say it's because of, you know, men are predatorial and have suppressed women and women's abilities and blah, blah, blah. It's also true that women have played a very big part in embodying certain things, like, and we need to talk about both sides, and we need to talk about it in an equal way, and we need to talk about it in a compassionate way that sees it for what it is. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we'll do some cards. Another thing that's really interesting, for me, is that I think I know for a fact that I would go back and watch some of these videos from a few months ago and say things that I just don't agree with. And that's hard for me because that's where I'm like, I just shouldn't do this at all. But it's not that I don't agree with myself, it's that I'm doing the best I can, and sometimes I don't say things the way that I intend to. But that's why I always invite people who watch my videos to email me, because we're all just trying to make sense of this together. But I, in particular, am going through just so many spiritual upgrades and changes that are happening because I started to do this. I mean, they were going to happen anyway, but it's just a lot. So if you've been watching my videos, then thank you. I promise they'll keep getting better. And by better, I just mean they'll keep evolving and expanding in a way that brings me joy, because this is part of what I'm being moved to do as a creative person. And there's no pressure, but it is fun. It's fun for me to try to explore all of this stuff because we have our lives and we have our skill sets, and the purpose of life is to realize that it is play and not work, and kind of stay keyed into, oh gosh, I have to share one more thing. So Burning Man was in the press because it was intrepid from the environmental factors with the rain this year, and I only saw articles that were like, you know, complete mess, blah blah blah. I know several people that go regularly and people that went. Everyone had a fabulous time. Don't trust that that was the way that it went. I'm sure it was much harder. The people who understand the 10 principles on which Burning Man was founded would not be dissuaded by an event like that. Now I can talk about it later. I've only been one time, but I had absolutely beautiful experiences there, like that I would, I mean, survive any amount of rain to have again. It's a really special thing. It's not what people think it is. I don't know what people think it is. But I just want to share this, okay? So it was Burning Man 2019, and I was with my friends, and we were biking around on the playa, which is the big, you know, desert expanse, trying to find one of these mutant art vehicles, because there was going to be a Taigo set. Taigo was playing, but you never know, like, it's not like people are like, it's just a music festival. No, it's not. There's not like set times of anything. There are musical performers and famous people there performing, but they just pop up and they move around. Like, we were trying to find this sunrise concert, you know, middle of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., biking around looking. Found them, and the sun's coming up. I mean, these mountains, you know, in Nevada, and it was a Taigo remix of Lovely Day, and it was one of the most otherworldly, most beautiful experiences, just dancing to that, like 5 a.m. having the sun come up, just people all around. But there was this one man in particular, and we were like looking at each other, and there was this absolute frequency. I have a notebook downstairs where I drew a picture. So I'll circle back to this and I'll talk about this again so that I can use the diagram to explain it that I drew. But when we connect with people, we have like frequency alignment or not. And with this person, it was as if I had a lot of frequency alignments so that there was almost no need for words or there was no need to fiddle with the dials that would have gotten things to communicate. It wasn't even necessary. I'm not saying like, oh, I was in love with this person and it wasn't like that. It was this very interesting, it was so spiritual that it was like platonic. It was such a high vibe connection. And it was like I realized that this individual had very similar past life / simultaneous self energy in the other, like if you think about starseed or extraterrestrial, like the same frequency as me. And it was such a beautiful thing because he was, 20 feet away dancing. I was dancing in a way that I don't often have like the courage to in public, because I don't, like if I go out and I'm dancing at a club in America as myself, I'm not like twerking. It's a privilege to be able to see me do that. I'm not going to do that in public. This goes back to female sexual energy and all this stuff going on today. But like, I kind of dance like I would if I was at a middle school dance and I was 12. I'm just a big kid having fun. I also know that I'm a woman and I love sexuality. But I felt when I was at Burning Man just not, because if you dance in a club, just being so energetically aware and knowing what it's like to become the center of attention or have people staring at you. I don't like that for certain ways and everything. But I was dancing and I was kind of in the middle of a bunch of people and I wasn't intimidated by that because it wasn't any type of distorted energy. It was this pure thing that was happening. And it was like the last verse of the song where instead of going low, he goes high. He goes, a lovely day, up high, and holds the note for, I'm all like scratchy and morning like, even though it's probably noon. It feels very early to me, so I'm not going to sing, but in that moment, dancing, hearing that note, looking at this man, feeling very understood, very connected, what I got out of this was like, those who know will know and those who don't will not. And it's not, you're not meant to convert anybody to any kind of belief in this world. We're all equally exploring this reality, and we don't want other people to be hurt or hurt others, and we ourselves don't want to be hurt or hurt others. And that's what everybody's trying to kind of go after. But we need to respect other people enough to let them do that their way. And in that moment with this guy, I realized that like everything is, it's a Buddha quote. When you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. And people will be like, that's spiritual bypassing. There's so much pain and struggle. I'm like, yes, I know. I know. Life is suffering, And then the purpose of life is to see that for what it is and conduct yourself accordingly, I guess. So, other thing I'll say is that I sang a song the other day and I posted a video of it. It's called Used to Be Young by Miley Cyrus, but then I promptly took it down because my guides were like, you should figure out how to do the piano. I have a piano over here, but I can't figure it out right now. It's a keyboard, it's digital, and I can't get the external speakers to work. I can only get it to plug into my desktop computer. And I don't want that. I want to be able to play it on the speakers. So I'm still kind of amongst all the other things that I'm doing, trying to figure that out. But I deleted it because I want to be able to post musical covers and play my own music for them at the same time, whether it's ukulele or piano. But I also was realizing how I like the message of the song, but that as with any song, there's still some kind of like distortion in it where it's saying, I know I used to be crazy. I know I used to be fun. You say I used to be wild. I say I used to be young. It's a song about growing up, coming of age, realizing, that we can outgrow versions of ourselves, that it's okay to be silly and young. But she says, those wasted nights are not wasted. I remember every one. That lyric I took issue with. I get it as a sentiment of like, it's okay to be young and crazy, but at the same time, a lot of people are still young and crazy. Listening to that song saying like, those wasted nights are not wasted. Meanwhile, they're doing very toxic things. They're in horrible relationships. It's all about what I talked about with Jay-Z and Beyonce and like Drunken Love and like these lyrics that like, yes, it makes sense for Miley Cyrus to say that, but I was singing that song and I got a throat chakra blockage when I sang those lyrics because for me, personally, my wasted nights when I was wasted were wasted. There's certain things that I'll never remember or be able to, there's certain very damaging things that I wouldn't, I'm a person who's like live with no regrets. But as I see that as music that people are now like chanting and celebrating and affirming, a lot of people excuse their behavior for the way that, culture is like it doesn't encourage an authentic path of healing because of the both ands. Both can be true. I can have no regrets, but it can also have been incredibly toxic. And I don't have to be like, I remember every night. They're not wasted. I'm just trying to make a distinction here, so I'm sorry about that if it's not clear. But I'm gonna get into the cards. I'm also just feeling things are good right now. Things are good right now. So for the collective, it's a really beautiful time just to notice that, even if you've been wearing gloves made of skin your whole life, you realize that they are gloves, that you can take them off, okay? Just these long-standing things that people are breaking out of. It is happening. It's happening. There are certain things like gloves made of skin that we've been wearing for so long, identities, masks, that they might have fused to our core, making them painful to remove. That doesn't mean they're part of who we are, though. It just means that we grew into them and they melted into us. So that's what my guides just gave me as like, this is an exciting time. Even if there's pain and confusion, it's because we are able to transcend seeing ourselves as fused into something that we're not. That's not the core bone of what a human living in energetic truth is, right? We've just accepted so many things. This is macro micro again. Macro micro again. And honestly, we can study the pulse of the government and celebrities all day, but you can do just as much investigatory truth finding within the self, within the family, within the community. As above, so below, as within, so without. And the macro micro stuff is very real because of the fact that energy does function in tandem simultaneously. Like right now, I'm here talking. Think about every country, every continent, all the people. It's all happening all at the same time right now. So the collective energies in the age of Aquarius, we realize that by being present for our own experience in our own mind and becoming more attuned to accepting that and putting weight and value and faith into the way that we individually uniquely see the world, that is like watching the news now. Or it will become more and more understanding. People will become more and more understanding of the fact that their own inner compass, that is the thing that can sense into, if you did have the ability to sit here and be like, I wonder how every single one of God's 8 billion children are doing right now. The closest thing we have to being able to understand that and some type of like universal truth is not turning on the TV. It is not. Okay, so that's a great message. And it can lead to a lot of empowerment. Oh dear. Self-empowerment and a way around a lot of the fear that unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know they're so fearful. I think about a parent who has to put on a good face so that the kid doesn't get even more freaked out. That's not healthy for the parent because the parent's not being able to feel and process their full feelings because they don't want to create more of a, intensified emotional state when really the emotional state is there anyway. Oh, goodness. Yeah, okay. So we are going to get a starseed oracle at the end of this. I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly because I think the energy is going to be pretty clean actually to interpret today. I don't know why I say clean. It's never dirty. It's just denser or clearer and crisper. So I'll run through this pretty quickly and then I'll clarify with some of the pink cards and then I'll take a starseed oracle and then I'll bid you adieu so I can go do the million things I have to do today. Keep calm and carry on. And am I missing some big one that I had tabled? I know I said I was going to edit down that 3-hour long track. I think that I will, but I also might just listen to it and take notes on it and then turn that into a video. I know that whatever. I was going to say some people hear me saying that and are like, I don't care. Just figure it out and then do whatever you do when you do it. Stop saying you'll do things and not doing them, but that could be my own inner speak. A really big thing that I realized when I did that 3-hour long recording the other night was how much of myself, Mariah, like my identity, my ego, my own vocabulary and ideas, I attach to the messages that come through channel. So what I'm being asked to do is become a little bit more trusting that it's okay to let things come through without trying to make them palatable for people. And that's a really big deal for me, right? Because there's a fear involved with me. This is me, right? I am solely responsible for the things that I say and do on this channel. But what I'm getting is that my messaging and my work, my ability to help people and provide ways for people to see things differently for healing would be amplified and more effective if I got more used to removing my own ego from the messages that I channel and trying to control any kind of outcome. So that's what I'm working through, and it's a good thing. It's part of my growth and my expansion, and I just felt the need to say that. Because then I'll have a little bit, I'll have fewer of those moments where I'm like truly just reasoning things out with myself, but on camera, because I'm still getting used to this. It hasn't been very long. Recording videos for a few months. Feels like a long time. Okay. Because I said the energy was clean cut, clear, I'm not going to shuffle them out. I'm just going to current energy to embrace, energy to release, and then we'll do a fourth for the hidden energy. Current energy is the 6 of Cups. That's beautiful. Reconciliation, play, past life soulmates, past life connections, children, nostalgia. Energy to embrace is the Four of Pentacles, cultivating stability. And I'm not seeing it as some kind of miserly energy. I'm seeing it more as an ability to have some type of grounded place of repose for our own, like, control over the things that are appropriate to control at this time. So ducks in a row as well. Energy to release is the King of Swords. The need to be right. Do you see this? And also look at how the purples are lining up here. So not imposing any type of will or control against anybody else. Like, a lot of the times we're very agitated in life because things aren't going our way, or we see an injustice. And it could be that we're right, but is it our place to assert ourselves to make that known? At this time, the energy's saying no. And instead, we're tending to our own pentacles and sense of self. And the hidden energy is the Queen of Wands. So again, it's a shift from a masculine, like more cutting, demanding energy into something that's a little more free-flowing, because it is based around the creative, passionate energy that keeps things moving. I'm also seeing this as a release of fear and what could go wrong, and a connection to your third eye around visualizing what could go right. Okay. Clarify energy to embrace with the Four of Pentacles. It's the Seven of Cups. Okay, do you see Six of Cups? Seven of Cups. So because the current energy is all about connection and nostalgia and whatnot, I'm going to put hidden energy where it's not hidden over the energy to release. I think there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and I said this earlier in the reading when I was talking about waking up this morning, having watched myself give this like speech around multiple planes of reality and how many realities can be true at once, except people are very convinced of their own because they live in their own, so they're constantly trying to tell other people why their own reality is the reality, as if some of the graphs, you know, the cells or the squares on the graph paper mean more than any other. There's so much more happening energetically right now in the collective than what meets the eye, and the energy to embrace is reminding ourselves of what is real for us, for fear of getting swept away in confusion and illusion. Clarify the Six of Cups in the current energy. It's the Sun. Oh, wow. I'm gonna cry. I don't know why. I just got like, yeah, there's just so much release taking place in the collective right now. Like, I felt this absolute, like, just complete wave through the sacral chakra down into the root, like, of people releasing things, releasing the struggle, and coming back to the things that make us feel at home. I said this before, like, safety. A lot of people don't even realize that they don't feel safe. It's a really beautiful thing. To find like joy and contentment and just connection and the things that used to make you happy when you were younger. This is what transmuting for the collective looks like, by the way. Feeling all the feelings and knowing where they come from and that they're valid even when other people can't feel them for themselves. I'm really happy. If I was alone, I would probably just, you know, let this all out, but I don't want to do that because I'm recording and I typically don't. yeah, what I felt though right there, what you just watched was this big wave of nausea that I felt like it's all about the clearing that I talked about back in August around the solar plexus having like from the heart up. I do believe that anybody who has found my channel or people in the collective, like there has been a heightened, you know, crown chakra, third eye thing going on where there's this spike in being able to see and experience certain higher vibrational spiritual things, but how we ground that into the earthly experience has been more of the labor this summer for myself, certainly. And so I felt this wave of nausea. It wasn't nausea, but another thing that I understand is that when I talk about energy, when I talk about chakras, I know that sometimes people aren't at a place in their own energetic expansion where they feel the subtle energy. That's just words to them. So what am I talking about when I say things like that? Like heat or like little flutters. In my video a few weeks back when I was talking about telepathy, I was talking about how like there's misconceptions around it because people think that it's like, I can hear your thoughts. No, I can also feel your energy in my own body where you're experiencing blockages. Somebody in my life who, whenever I get around them, I constantly want to drop my chin to my chest. I want to give them a back massage because they have so much tension. And I know that it's not mine because whenever I get around them, that's when I feel it because that's how I am. And a lot more people are like that than we think. You might be like that too. That's why I said in the beginning of this video, it's really important to kind of up the ante on your spiritual protection and just in general, not accidentally ascribe these things that we feel to ourselves when it's just the energy that we've taken on. Goes back to the gloves made of skin thing. Because some of these energetic blockages that are very long standing can be things that we have not only carried for our entire lives, but they're generationally inherited. So when I say wave of nausea, I don't mean literally, I just mean I'm trying to describe the way that it felt physically on this energetic level, because it's not like my physical body, it's the energy that I felt that's translated through, I have a physical body to feel, experience. So it went from the solar plexus down into the sacral, all the way into the root, and then it went all the way down into the center of the earth. This big release of energy just now that has to do with just returning to, I put this in the community post the other day when I channeled, I was thinking about that song, Danny's song by Kenny Loggins or whoever, Messina. Yeah. Cultivating, also with the switch from the masculine here, releasing energy, the will to control to this feminine energy, allowing creative. Our culture, we strive for things outside of us. And whenever we're happy, we have something else to aspire to and ascend to. And whenever there's one thing wrong in society, there's always something else being marketed out to fill that void, and all this stuff, striving instead of receiving guidance from the universe, being in a receptive mode where we believe that we will receive good things just by showing up and being happy and content. It's cultivating the energy that we've always been made to believe is unattainable or outside of us because it's defined by material things, by finally realizing that it's not, it never was. It's about connection and peace and knowing yourself and being able to enjoy the moments as they pass you by, because each individual moment is a microcosm of an entire life, and for that matter, the lifespan of all of Earth and humans. That was intense. Okay, so after this reading, I'm probably just gonna go cry for 20 minutes because that's how this happens, and it's like, it's confusing for people to understand because I'm not sad. I'm just, I feel and I see a lot, and it's beautiful. We need to release this. If you want to cry, then I encourage you to do that too. I'm used to it. All right, I'm going to get a couple clarifiers from this deck, the Starseed Oracle, and then I'll pull our rune, and then I'll be done for the day. I have no idea what to call this video. Clarifier for the current energy. It's the Knight of Swords. Okay. So what I'm getting right off of the bat with this, again, with the current energy, we've got Six of Cups. We've got the Sun. And now with the Knight of Swords, a knight is not a king. So we're releasing this more masculine, domineering vibe. Also, I never talk about relationship dynamics as they can be portrayed through the tarot, because I tend to speak more about the individual and let people apply that to their relationships in the way that they see fit, but can kind of represent like a karmic masculine energy, or somebody who's in your life to help you grow, not somebody who's in your life to have like mutually beneficial. I mean, that's arguable. People who can be very challenging are mutually beneficial sometimes, because we are learning and growing from them. But my point is, we still, when we experience kind of a healed sense of self, we still possess masculine energy, regardless of gender and sexuality and all that, as usual, by way of our ability to make things happen and still be like confident and assertive and move forward. It just doesn't have to be as cutting and one-sided and all in or all out, right? We don't have to be all one thing in order to be something. That doesn't really make sense, I guess, but because we're kind of making a way for the things that society has said are like just for the daydreamers, right? Like truly valuing creativity as a gateway for abundance, not just in some woo-woo manifestation way, but because the age of Capricorn was the age of information, and the age of Aquarius is about just like unconventional solutions and personal creativity and the inner world that is yielded to us when we sink into that, and that inherently has a more feminine quality because of kind of the moon meditation, subconscious union, where women can be oracles for the unseen, and men can too. But I'm kind of seeing this as the modified expression of the masculine energy. So it's still swords, it's still assertive, but it's kind of a step down from like, well, I'm the all-knowing king. Clarifier for energy to embrace. Did I ever get, oh yeah, it was the Seven of Cups. Okay, so remembering that keeping the ducks in a row with the things that we can see, pentacles in front of our face, will keep us from getting too overwhelmed with the things that we can't see. And I said this in the beginning of the reading, there are so many things that we can't see right now. So it's important to know that, but not try to see them. This goes back to what I was saying a couple weeks ago around like, if you're changing a lot right now, like I am, like everything is, like everybody is, don't try to do or be anything that's above the order of what your spirit team or your life is showing you that you're capable of. You know, if you get this divinely led, beautiful vision that says that you're going to, I don't know, own a winery and do this and that, and that's your passion and your chosen path, don't be like, okay, so now I have to go do that. No, what that has shown you is that that's what you're working towards on your current path. And each and every day as you show up to what you still currently have in your life will lead you there. A lot of people get certain insights and divinely led visions, and then they execute them wrong and that's kind of an oxymoron, because you can't execute it wrong if it's your destiny or your dream. But we tend to kind of overextend ourselves, where we're like, it's just the dissonance between the divine timing of the way of the world and knowing what it takes to grow into new chapters, because new chapters and growing into them requires a certain level of uncertainty and not being able to see things in their totality. This is the other message that I got when I woke up this morning. Thank you for bringing this back to me, because I would have forgotten it. Because I did. the message is, how many times have you looked back on something that you've been through and you are able now to see so many more aspects of that from more sides? You're able to empathize with the other person's point of view in a way that you weren't able to then. You're able to think about how you could have said something different that you could not have called upon in the moment. Almost every time, right? Hindsight's 20/20. We're almost always able to see more looking back on it than we are when we're in it. And so just know that you're always gonna, the present moment, there's always something that you're gonna wish that you would have, could have said, done. When you know that that's true all the time, then you can kind of just release yourself of having to be perfect and commit yourself to doing better in each new passing moment. But I see that there's this huge Truman Show on the wall, trapdoor at the edge of the sea, and he goes up the stairs. There's that door. There's this huge fire escape for us right now out of anxiety, or the same kind of anxiety that the collective has been carrying for a long time. That's what I'll go sob about. No, really. It's a big deal. So the Queen of Swords is what is in our energy to embrace, clarifying the Seven of Cups and the Four of Pentacles. And I love that because, again, with the masculine and feminine, yeah, we're releasing the King of Swords because a queen, a more dominant energy that's more female leaning, is what is coming in. And so again, I said it's more of a muted power of that assertiveness. There she is in the flesh. Queen of Swords still knows that she has this indescribable connection to the unseen and things that seek to kind of divide people and create illusion. But she knows that she'll be shown what she's meant to see when she sees it. That's the kind of faith we need to cultivate right now. So keep your eyes on what's in front of you and what is real for you, and don't make that mean that that's all that exists or that's all that's real, because you know that it's not. But you don't have to work on being more than we are, or seeing more than we can, for fear that not doing that sooner than we want to will lead to some other fate that we can't control. Like we're just zooming through space anyway, it's all good. It's all good. The Magician in this energy, I didn't say clarify energy to release, but that's what I meant. I'm sorry. The Queen was for hidden. She wasn't that was for hidden energy, but the Magician is coming in to clarify that. So the message that I'm getting here with the Magician is that I believe I always address my viewership as if you've been watching me since the beginning, because that's my desire. By the way, I should start saying this. If you do find my channel and you kind of like the way that I talk about the collective energies, or you're interested in what I have to say, my recommendation is that you go back to the videos that I posted when I was in Italy and watch it from that point onwards, because I could probably be more redundant on purpose, but I try to not be so redundant because I just want everything to build on top of itself and not, I just lay groundwork, and I have kind of a language that I use. So anyway, if you've been with me for a time frame that extends back into the earlier months of the summer, that I was talking a lot about, the star card, the wish, the motivation, understanding that we are collaborative creators in this reality, and we can have a little bit more say in what we experience, because our perception really does influence how we experience things. And we have the ability to kind of plant seeds and water them with our intention and with our action, because collectively we were shedding a lot of layers around realizing that we say we want things and we say we want to be things, but a lot of the things that are keeping us from doing those things are just things that we kind of agreed to never clear out for some reason, or we gave up thinking that we could be living outside of certain limiting factors that a lot of people, that's kind of how they get you. They convince you that you're not, capable of doing good things in this life, and then we grow complacent and sick and tired and resign to everything. And so there's this kind of ability to tap back into the fact that at any moment in time, regardless of where you're at in your life right now, you can have a switch that comes from within that will change the way that you feel, and therefore what you're capable of experiencing by virtue of what you allow yourself to experience and believe in. And so the message with the Magician is that we have been manifesting more intentionally as a result of that. I'll get one more card to clarify, but my intuition was saying, and now your work is to focus on being happy, to focus on coming back to the present moment and the simple things in life. You know, with these two boys here, they're looking at the grass and the flowers. And time, the passage of time for nature is slower and it's more beautiful. When there are no solutions, you have to remember that you're like a flower who doesn't question their growth. You don't question the loss or the pain or the death of anything natural in the world, because nature shows us that it is meant to be reborn and that it doesn't end. So there's a transition happening. There's so much beautiful energy coming in. So instead of getting that clear out that I felt before, I just had kind of from the root up, this infused, beautiful, I have a whole, goosebumps all over the right side of my body, which is the masculine side, which is our ability to assert ourselves and make things happen and be, you know, there's a lot of really positive things happening for the collective energies for October, November, and December. And the biggest thing to remember is that when you focus on the present moment and you focus on your personal happiness and your personal peace, you're doing a lot more to bring those dreams in, or the things that you'd like to experience, no matter how big or small, than you realize. So the Magician can kind of take a seat and hang up the wand and realize that you're still in this active manifestation state each and every day. And so the work is more on play now. And to kind of just be like soft and gentle and feel this shifting balance within us, see this shifting balance around us, and mind your manners is what I was told. I don't really get that. It just goes back to everybody's fighting a really tough battle, and there are some transits right now that could create some tension astrologically. Okay. Sorry. Certain things that are happening astrologically right now and then through the next 3 months create, like I said in the beginning of this video, that wub 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 with the corks at the surface of the water or the rubber duckies in the tub, these agitations. So, you know, mind your manners, just choose your words very carefully. Don't take things personally, and don't try. There's a toxic urge to prove people right or say that thing. Don't do any of that. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need to send that text. You don't need them to know that you were right. You don't. And if you do, you have some healing to do still on your own journey, and why that may be. Who are you really trying to prove right, you know? It is this existential urge just to have justice served when we're wronged about anything, but okay, yeah, there's a release around that. So just be kind. Everyone's fighting a different battle that is not something that you can see on the outside. The more gracious of heart you are with others, people will sometimes say, well, the world doesn't deserve that out of me because people who act that way get trampled on. That's not true. It's those Gatsby eyes from the ocular doctor in the valley between the East Egg and the West Egg and the city, right? God sees all, the angels, the universe. Another thing with that Truman Show, exiting this anxiety thing, this anxiety paradigm, you're still very much surveyed when you're outside of it. It's just that we're realizing that you are surveyed by good forces and bad forces all the time from the energetic realms. That's why I got that little infiltrator in my dream the other night that wanted to interact with me. Doesn't mean I'm not spiritually protected. When you're spiritually protected, you're still seen, but maybe you can't be touched, okay? So I affirm all the time, like, I am untouchable. I'm safe in my spiritual protection. I have to be, or else I wouldn't be able to do this kind of work. And a lot of the times when we think that we're not able to do something that we want to do in our lives, we can. It's just that we're working with a lot of factors, limiting factors that we can change, but we also have to kind of make space to realize that there are certain things that may be affecting us that we didn't have space in our consciousness to accept may be real and affecting us previously. Let me get a clarifier for the hidden energy, please. It's the Knight of Wands. So what I'm getting about this is like, there's good news and like exciting things coming in when we focus on the day-to-day. The Knight of Wands, it's like I said, the hidden energy, right? Turning into this kind of more creative, passionate. With the cat here again, you know, cats, their purr is it's a healing frequency. If a cat comes to you and it's purring on you, that vibration, our energy field's like that. If you're not a cat person, that's fine. But with the hidden energy, right, there's this shift from the energy to release with the swords and the king into the wands and the creative manifested with the magician, things that are coming in more quickly than we think. And so just release the timing of anything. When is something going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. That's all attachment to something that really doesn't exist as far as the passage of time. When you pray, when you manifest, when you make wishes, say, and so it is. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. To truly emanate the vibration of having what it is that you want, you have to convince yourself that it's literally written into your future, and then go frolic with the sense of self and peace and pleasure that you would if you believed that. It goes back to the nocebo thing. I genuinely pray that people will have stayed to watch the duration of this video, because I think, as with any of my longer ones, when I have a lot to get through, it takes me a while to like warm up and get through all of it. But you know, with the analytics on YouTube, which I try not to look at because I'm like, what? It psychs me out. I know in the beginning, if I posted videos that were like hours long, people would watch like 4 minutes of it and be like, okay, great. And then they would stop watching. And that's fine. Now, they are intended to be watched in full, spending the time doing this. This is my card that came out. I'm hearing that that's the one to take, even though I didn't really shuffle. Okay, I'm shuffle one more time and then get one more. We're taking two. I do know from the analytics page that the amount of minutes that somebody on average will watch one of my videos for is increasing. So that makes me happy, and I'm just putting out this general call again for more people to have patience with me, because my process is getting refined in a good way, and I'm just as on board for that as you are, because I'm love it, love it, love it. We the Hathors, rebirth, mother's milk, birth as a portal, deep love. Wait, it's not time yet. Things are being woven. Do you see this beautiful thing here? I mean, as always, if you think I'm obnoxious and you don't want to watch my videos, then don't do it. Don't watch them just so, you know, come back in a few months. They'll be different, I promise. But my point is, thank you. That's it. That's what I meant to say. If you did watch the entirety of this video, then I thank you, and I'm really glad for that, because it's not about me, or it's about the fact that the good essential nuggets of information that needed to come out through this reading came out in the last 40 minutes. So there is something meant to be in a natural, weeding out of people who aren't going to benefit from this information, because a lot of people would listen to me and it wouldn't really have a place within them to resonate, and that's okay. All right, I'm going to read from these. And then I'll draw the rune. Birth is a portal that ushers in new life. The Hathors are here to remind you that you're a child of the Cosmic Mother, and you're being called to be held by her deep, never-ending love and embrace. Children. Mother. There is a tender, nourishing card. This is a tender, nourishing card reminding you to receive the deep, deep love of the mother's embrace. That is the universal knowing that you're held, by the way. I was talking about culture of striving and turning into a culture of receiving. And I mean, like, you go outside and you're like, thank you for me and my skin receiving the sun's light. There's something to be receptive for in every moment that adds magic to your own perception of your own experience. The Hathors know that the journey on Earth can be rocky and lonely at times, but you're being reminded to rest more deeply in the mother's arms. This is a card of extreme potency, of femininity, of creation, and of birth. Like, are you kidding? You're being called to mother yourself and others too, to surrender to your sacred femininity, to create and surrender to your own creations, to hold and be held. You're being called to remember your place in the web of life and to realize that the Cosmic Mother is watching you every step of the way. Just said that too. You may be going through a transition right now, moving from one way of being to another. If so, you're being reminded that you're cradled in a sacred container, that you're more held than you can possibly imagine, and you have access to more love than your heart can bear. If you're struggling in any way, you're being reassured that things will work out. Open yourself to receiving the overflowing love of the Cosmic Mother, flooding towards you from every direction. Let it stretch your heart. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of overwhelming things happening in the world right now, but there are some days where I don't even know why. I'm just so grateful that, like, I'm crying. And there's so much beauty because, like, yes, a lot of people, to be able to see and hold all of the beauty that the world has to offer, you kind of also have to hold and see all of the darkness. And some people just simply won't do that. Or they're not meant to in this life for whatever reason. I mean, you have to, without being so frustrated on a personal level about how other people are living their lives, they're working out their karma just like you are. They're learning their lessons. That's their path, you know? Sometimes you just want to shake somebody and be like, you could do it this way. They're not meant to. Maybe that's how you did it, right? That's why I've been kind of gatekeeping all of my healing information for so long. Because I'm like, this is just how I did it. Like, you don't have to do it this way if this doesn't work for you. But it's just about putting it out there. Those who want it will take it. Those who like it will resonate with it. It's when we force anything onto anybody else that we feel dissatisfied, because you can't truly bring anybody else into that space. They're not meant to walk your path or be on your path. There's a radical acceptance happening within the way that things are in the world right now, and realizing that it is not broken. It is duality. It is light and dark. It is the games that have been played on the planet for most of the planet's lifetime. And prior to that, perhaps in different parts of the universe, right? So much more going on than meets the eye that it's comical. and we need to release ourselves of it. And this goes back to what I was saying with nihilism and absurdism. And that goes back to being a rock with googly eyes on it, you know, sinking into that trusting factor that we are seen and it is seen, right? We want justice done onto all sorts of things. We can sink into the knowing that there is a drop in the ocean. That's what I just heard. I actually don't know what that means. What does that mean? There's a drop in the ocean? I'll let it be. All right, well, the next card said, wait. Things are being woven. In our fast, loud, reactive, comparative world where an instant response is so often expected, at times even a currency. An instant response is so often expected and at times even a currency. It can feel almost impossible to take a breath, let alone give ourselves the space to rest, wait, and reset. We're so often in overdrive, expecting instantaneous results over and over again. When the guidance doesn't come at these extreme speeds, it can feel as though something's gone wrong. But often, not receiving guidance is guidance in itself. When you ask for guidance and don't receive it, it can often mean, wait, it's not time yet. The details are being woven. This goes back to what I was saying with us trying to manifest things and then getting ideas and then being like, well, how do I do it? It's up to me. No, it's not. You're led every step of the way. It's a big deal for me to, like, you know, once I say on this channel, oh, I'm going to do something and make this video. I know that everyone's like, it's not that big of a deal. Relax. It's a big deal for me, okay? To get some type of message and then be like, now I have to do it, and still know that I'll know when the time is right. I'll get the information. I'll get the call. I'll get the prompt. I'm intuitively led, but it doesn't always make sense on the outside. And so our ego minds have to accept the timelines that our spirits want to guide us through when it comes to projects, when it comes to relationships and everything else. To remember, our challenge is to keep trusting when on the surface it appears that nothing is happening. To remember that no matter how long or how bitter the winter, spring does always come. To remember that you don't need to solve all of the world's problems in a single day, and that perhaps they'll be better solved with some perspective and a good night's sleep. This card is your permission to slip, to slow down, to switch off, to rest. You're being reminded to have patience and trust the mystery of life, to trust that things are being woven on your behalf. It may not be happening to the timeline you'd like, but if you gather up the patience, it will be orchestrated better than you can ever imagine. That is so key. And it also makes me think of something like I talk about Emily Pompey. She's the healer that I have worked with most closely in my life, who has been a mentor for me in understanding my spiritual gifts and has done just really cool workshops. And she is who I got my medical intuitive certification from. I remember going to see her, you know, say I was like, 23, 6 years ago or something. And me being like, I still smoke cigarettes. I know. I'm sorry. And she's like, Mariah, this isn't a confessional. It's okay. When we think about like being seen or witnessed by the universe, like it's like you're a human, right? We're not perfect. We're all working on things. You don't have to hide your imperfections from the world or the people around you. That implies that you know you're doing something wrong. The question is, why are you still doing it? If you don't want to stop, then don't stop. But why don't you want to stop? So there's all this stuff around divine timing and knowing that it's okay, like not to excuse your own behavior around things that you wish were different about yourself, but to know that there's a time and a season for all kinds of changes to take place when we facilitate them, when we pray for change, but we don't have the strength to enact it at the time. When you pray for change and you pray for the strength to enact the change at the right moment, it's just like manifesting. You're like, okay, it's done. Then I'll know that I'm supposed to rise into the moment, and perhaps act in a way that extends myself out of my comfort zone. There's also something that I'm getting is that there's going to be things that ask us to act outside of our comfort zones in October, November, and December. And that's kind of beautiful. And it's up to you. There's going to be this niggling feeling inside of you that says like, you're going to be disappointed with yourself if you don't try this, So listen to that when and stay grounded. Stay grounded. Everything's gonna be alright. Yeah. Ingwaz. Sorry, I'm looking up the meaning of the rune that I pulled. I always forget them. Living vitality. Ingus. Oh my god, I have one more message to share. I pray that nobody stopped watching because this was absolutely the coolest thing. Okay, well, this is the rune I pulled, okay? It's Ingus. Love, fertility, music, harmony. Nothing wrong with that. I was singing to myself, not last night, but the night before last. And it dawned on me that the syllables that were nonsensical that I was singing was channeled language, because that happens every so often where I'm speaking in a different language and I'm in my vibe. Usually it's singing. And usually it's to my dog, because he elicits a very innocent, childlike energy from me that I'd like to share more with people, but at the same time, it's not, oopsie. It's not like publicly palatable. It's not because I don't, like, I sing operas to him and I make them up on the spot because they're channeled. Like, it's not because I don't think that they're like good. It's because I know that they're very good. I mean, like, the concept, the rhyming. This morning, for instance, he jumps up on the bed and I sang him this lullaby about how I would, throughout all space and time, even after he died, I would meet him in the heavens in all like the big celestial bodies, and we would play fetch that lasted 1,000,000 years because he'd have to go through all these wormholes to get the ball, and then he'd bring it back and I'd still be there. Like, what? I didn't plan that, you know what I mean? I just started singing to the dog and that's what came out of me. But that's kind of next level vulnerability, and it's also like, why must I share that here? I definitely don't have to. I'd like to, but it comes later and I don't know when. There's something to it, okay? Because of the way that the connection that I have with my dog, and I'm going to pull out this card again because it goes back to tenderness and connection and love. With self, with pets, with beings, and our people that are physically in our lives. But okay, I put into Google Translate the words that I was typing in, that I was singing, with it on the setting that it will detect the language for you, and it was Japanese. And the translation, I'll put it on the screen. It was like, there's a sound to love, I think. When I was singing, it's the vibration of love. Like, we can move energy just like an artist. Just like an artist makes the unseen seen, music is the mathematics of like love vibration, right? People moving, passing through, just very powerful. And to have this rune come out made me think of that. I've never channeled Japanese to my knowledge. And the coolest thing was that I was typing it into the translator and I was watching it. I was typing, and it was all like gibberish. But then the last syllable, when I typed that in, it just dropped in the fully translated phrase. And I was like, wow. So that could be a message for somebody. If anybody has a connection to Japanese culture, then consider it your message, because I guess it's not mine. I mean, it is. Everything that comes through me is mine. But again, there was something that came through in Romanian the other day, so Japanese is definitely new for me. But I'm also getting just to put out there that you could have this ability to channel different languages. Sometimes if you just kind of start like, singing or talking, something will come out, and there is something to it. So this was a really beautiful reading for the things that came through, but more so for the energy that is the underpinning of it. I feel a lot better after having done this, and I'm really excited to go home to Vermont and connect with my homeland. I will be I will be posting little energy updates from there. They'll probably be like how they are when I'm on the move in other, places. Please email me if you have any confusions or weirdness around any of the things that I said. I am but a human trying to be a mouthpiece for some of the more beautiful things that I get exposed to on a daily basis that help me keep calm and carry on and soldier through. And I only want to be in service of that and not cause any confusion. So, and I would also, because I'm so used to this, I would also be receptive if you're like, you're full of shit. Like, debate me. I love that. I love a healthy debate. It is the time of us not taking differences in opinion personally, but as a way to navigate through times of confusion and disparity towards calmer waters where we may see eye to eye. But as with anything, know when it's not productive to do that. Only do it when it's a healthy, respectful dynamic. So, okay. Bye.